This is the story of Barry Seal, and how he helped create the biggest drug cartel this world has ever seen. It all started in 1978, when Barry was a commercial pilot for TWA. Barry used to smuggle cigars. Cuban exiles would pay commercial pilots to deliver goods to Canadian hubs. One day, Monty Schaefer, who worked for the CIA, offered Barry a job. Barry was an exceptional pilot, one of the best in the flight academy. It was a simple job: take pictures of army camps being set up south of the border and north of the equator. They called them enemies of democracy. Schaefer showed Barry the plane he'd be using, the fastest twin-engine plane of that time. Schaefer told Barry that a shell company owns the plane, and that Barry would be working for the CIA covertly. Schaefer asked Barry to take the plane for a ride. Barry told his wife, Lucy, that he was leaving TWA and joining a new business. Lucy refused, saying it was too risky and that he had a family to take care of. Barry went to his job as usual. During a regular cockpit inspection, Barry made up his mind and quit his job as a commercial pilot. Barry joined the CIA in October 1978. At that time, the Cold War was in full swing, and the Soviets were backing communist insurgents all over Central America. The CIA needed photos of those insurgents, and Barry was hired to do this job. Barry did a splendid job and took some of the best shots of the insurgents. The CIA was happy with Barry's work. Barry didn't tell Lucy that he had quit his job. Lucy just had a kid, and Barry needed more money now. Schaefer told Barry that everyone was happy with his work. Barry asked for a raise, and Schaefer told him he'd figure it out on his own. The CIA was so pleased with Barry's work that they gave him another job as a bagman. There was a colonel in Panama named Noriega, who was selling intel to the CIA about the commies. Barry's job was just to drop off and pick up. Things continued just like that for some time. In 1980, Barry landed at an airfield in Colombia to refuel. The cartels kidnapped Barry from there and took him to their place. There, Barry met Jorge Ochoa, who knew everything about Barry and offered him a job that would make him really rich. Barry asked what kind of riches they were talking about. Jorge took Barry with him and showed him the cocaine plantation. Jorge took Barry to their private runway, which was built for smuggling. There, Barry met Carlos Leder and Pablo Escobar, who were Jorge Ochoa's partners. Soon, these guys would be known as the Medellín Cartel. They had been having difficulties moving their product, so they offered Barry $2,000 per kilogram if he worked for them and delivered their product. Barry accepted the offer. But the problem was that the runway they had was too small and surrounded by trees and mountains, so no pilot had been able to take off from there so far. Barry asked if he could take off from somewhere else, but the army would catch him. Barry told them to increase the length of the runway, but they told him they couldn't do it. So Barry came up with a new idea. He wrapped the packages with tape so he wouldn't have to land, and he could throw the packages from the flying plane to the marked areas. Barry brought the plane to the end of the runway and told them he was going alone and could only take 200 pounds with him. With his years of experience, Barry managed to take off from there. Flying at low altitude, Barry avoided all the radars. Barry dropped the cocaine packages at all the marked areas, and he cleaned his plane with bleach so he wouldn't get caught during flight inspection. At the cartel's mansion, they were all celebrating their success. Pablo gave Barry more shipment work, but the police attacked their place and arrested them all. The cartels got out of jail, but Barry was still in jail. They beat him pretty badly and broke one of his teeth. Schaefer came there and told him that the US government knows he's a drug smuggler, and the police would raid his house at 6 a.m. the next morning. Barry begged him to save him from all this. Schaefer told Barry there was a way out. The people whose photos Barry was taking were communist militants, and they called themselves Sandinistas, and they had managed to take control of a country in Central America named Nicaragua. And the new US president, Ronald Reagan, wanted the Sandinistas out of Nicaragua, and he wanted the Nicaraguan freedom fighters called Contras to do that. But Congress didn't want that to happen, so they gave this work to the CIA, and the CIA gave this work to Barry. Schaefer told Barry to bring his family from Louisiana to Mina because the raid was about to happen. Barry went home. He convinced his wife to move. They packed everything and left before the police could reach them. They reached Mina, and Barry showed them their new home. Schaefer came there, and Barry had to leave his family and go. Schaefer showed Barry the private airstrip and said that Barry now owned everything from there to his home, all 2,000 acres of land. Schaefer showed Barry his plane and the hangar, and also the bag of money that was with Barry when he got arrested in Colombia. Barry's work was to smuggle guns to the Contras so the Contras could fight the war. Barry's job was to smuggle guns there while avoiding all law enforcement. Barry went back to his house, and Lucy was quite upset about all this and asked Barry what was going on. Barry told her he was working for the CIA. Barry started smuggling arms to Panama for the CIA. But the Contras were actually just some teenage kids who had no interest in war and just wanted to make money. The Contras were connected with the Medellín cartels, and Jorge offered Barry a new job. The cartels needed guns in Colombia. Jorge told Barry to deliver all the guns to Colombia, pick up cocaine from there and deliver it to the Contras, and the Contras would deliver the drugs to America through boats, and everybody's happy. Barry accepted the offer. Barry would deliver guns from Mina to Colombia. From there he'd deliver cocaine to the Contras training camp. The Contras would deliver the cocaine to Miami by boats. From there, Barry would pick up another load of cocaine, stop in Panama for refueling under the protection of his old friend Colonel Noriega, and on the way back to Mina, he'd dump the entire load in the swamps. The scheme worked pretty well, and Barry earned a lot of money. The business expanded so much that Barry had to hire new people. Pete Dubois, Stan Mason, Bill Cooper, and Bob. All these people had worked in this field before. And together they expanded the business to a new height. One day, Schaefer told Barry that they were building a training camp on his land to train the Contras, and now he'd have to bring the Contras to Mina too for training. Barry agreed to the CIA's conditions. They started smuggling the Contras to the USA as well, but many of them would run away as soon as they landed. But the CIA wanted to increase shipments because they thought the Contras would win the war if they had proper training. They expanded operations, and Barry had to smuggle even more people. Things continued just like that. Business was booming. Barry bought many businesses in Mina to launder money and converted his house into a palace. But the money was coming in faster than he could launder it. So Barry started keeping cash at home. He attended parties, bought luxuries. Barry now had mountains of money. One day, Barry's brother-in-law, JB, came to them. He had been fired. Lucy told Barry to give JB a job. Barry gave JB a janitor job at the hangar. Things continued just like that. But now Barry didn't have any place to keep the money. All the places were full, and money was spilling out everywhere. One day, JB came to their house in a new car with a 15-year-old girl. Barry and Lucy got angry and stopped him. Barry asked JB where he got the money to buy the car. JB confessed that he stole some money from the hangar, and Barry explained to him that he can't do that. A few days later, while flying, they got ambushed by the D. They had new technology, high-speed planes that could easily catch them. But the high-speed planes couldn't fly for long at slower speeds, which their planes could. They started flying at slow speed, and after some time, the DEA's plane ran out of fuel and they gave up. Barry and his team escaped from the DEA. The FBI had caught onto the financial growth in Mina. Barry had even bought a bank and started using the bank's main vault to store his money. One day, the DEA started tailing Barry, and this time they were using the same plane as him. Barry understood he couldn't outrun them in the air. So Barry crash-landed his plane, took the money, and ran away from there before the police arrived. The incident made the news, and Schaefer found out about it. The cartels were also having problems with the DEA, and Pablo angrily started a war against the government, and they all fled from Colombia to Nicaragua. Barry went there and met with Jorge, Pablo, and the Minister of the Interior, who controlled the airstrips. The cartels were dealing with him. In Mina, JB stole money from the hangar and was about to run away, but the police caught him. In the meeting, Barry found out that the FBI had caught JB, and they would do everything to get all the information out of him. The cartels told Barry that he needed to move 1,500 kilos of product in one go. Barry told them he needed some time to think, but the cartels said get it done. Back in Mina, Barry tried his best to keep JB calm and get him out of there. But the cartels found out about all this and told Barry they'd handle it. Barry tried to convince them, but they didn't listen. JB got out of custody, and he didn't say anything about anyone. JB knew what was going to happen to him and begged Barry to let him live and promised he wouldn't say anything to anyone. Barry wanted to save JB from the cartels, so he gave him money, a passport, and a flight ticket, and told him to get out of here and never come back. JB got angry, and as he got into his car, He cursed Barry and his sister. Barry got angry that JB insulted his wife, and he ran after him as he drove off. But the car exploded, and JB died. Barry was shocked and hid JB's car in the jungle. Barry went back to the hangar. Bill asked Barry about JB, and Barry told him that JB would never talk about this again. The CIA found out that half the arms they sent to the Contras were in Colombia, and half the Contras who came to the USA never went back. The mission had failed, and they were removing the training camp from there. Now Barry was no longer under CIA protection, and the CIA was getting rid of all relations with Barry. Barry tried to get rid of all the guns and drugs, but the FBI, the ATF, state police, everyone was after Barry, and he got arrested. Barry tried calling Schaefer, but the CIA had cut all ties with him. Barry was taken to the state attorney general, and she said Barry would get a very long jail sentence for all the crimes he committed. But the state attorney general got a call from Governor Clinton, and Barry was released from custody. But some people took him from there to the White House. It turned out the DA wanted to catch the cartels, but the president's people wanted to prove that the commies in Central America were involved in the drug trade, and they both wanted Barry to keep smuggling. Now Barry was working for the White House. They gave Barry a big cargo plane with hidden cameras to take photos of the cartels and the army together so they could get their proof. Barry went to Nicaragua. He met the cartels there, loaded all the goods, and they got all the photos. A few days later, during the president's interview, the photos got leaked, and Barry was in the photos. Now both the FBI and the cartels were after Barry. Barry told Lucy that when their house got raided, she should wear as much jewelry as possible so the FBI couldn't take it from her, and it would be her and the children's insurance since he'd be going to jail. Their house got raided. Barry told Lucy to move back to Louisiana. She refused, but Barry convinced Lucy. Lucy and the kids moved back to Louisiana. Barry didn't go to jail and only got sentenced to 1,000 hours of community service. But that meant the cartels were now coming to kill him. Barry stayed in a different motel every day and started recording his entire story as evidence. But every day he had to go back to a Salvation Army halfway house for community service for 120 days. Every day, starting his car, he was afraid it would explode. And finally, one day, the cartels got to him and killed him. American officials seized all the evidence. The CIA started using Iran to deliver arms to the Contras. All the other pilots either got arrested or shot down. And Lucy settled back in Louisiana. And with this comes the end of the life of Barry Seal, the guy who helped build an army, defend a country, and create the biggest drug cartel this world has ever seen. Thank you for watching. Like the video, comment your opinion, and do subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.